everybody. Hello, everybody. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate this lovely turnout. And I wanted to welcome you to our new...
Gary, the mic's not on.
It is on.
Just not very loud.
All right.
Just not at all like you.
Switch to the glowing light next to it. It's not glowing.
There's gotta be a volume switch here someplace. That's right.
How many tunes does it take to...
Yeah, that's it. Try again.
Is this better? Yes. Okay. I wanted to welcome you to this new exhibition, Jewish-Polish Posters. Donald and Elaine Meyer have graciously made their collection of original, contemporary, and vintage graphic design posters available to us, and they're here to provide us with a walkthrough. Posters have a long history in the Polish artistic tradition. During communism, all art was sponsored and censored by the government. Artists from the media of painting, drawing, sculpture, and photography were well paid to design artistic announcements for cultural events, blurring the line between art and commercial design. Much of it was generated at Warsaw Academy of Fine Arts. Surprisingly, along with posters for circus, music, and film, Poland specialized in portraying Jewish themes. Before I turn the microphone over to the Meyers, let me apprise you of our very exciting programming in conjunction with this exhibition. On March 19th, write it in your calendars, on March 19th, Thursday night, we've been offered a specially priced block of tickets to see Irina's Vow at the Walter Kerr Theater. Tova Feldschuh depicts the Polish Catholic housekeeper who risked her life to shelter a dozen Jews in the home of a Nazi officer. Contact Susie Antwile for details and reservations by March 5th. Susie, where are you? Susie's over there. Does everybody see Susie? Okay. On March 25th, Wednesday night, we have producer Ellen Friedland, who will present 2 documentaries about current Polish Jewish communities, and she will be available for discussion afterwards. On April 30th, put it on your calendars, Thursday night, Yael Stram, world-renowned musician, ethnographer, author, filmmaker, will share with us his search for and performance of klezmer music. That event has a shared sponsorship from Brotherhood, Sisterhood, and the gallery. It will be a Freilich evening. Lastly, the framed poster, right there. Do you see it? Yeah. The framed poster. Thank you. The framed poster celebrating this exhibition is being offered as a raffle. The winner will be announced on April 30th. See Mark Antwile for your raffle ticket. I want to thank my committee, Susie Antwile, Amy Levine Kennedy, Iris Schaap, and Sally Frank for their invaluable help. The installation for this show is credited to Caesar, who demonstrated skill and ingenuity. Thank you, thank you. Would you like to talk about it?
Okay, I'm Donald Mayer. Can you hear me? Not quite. Can you turn the mic up? Somebody? Caesar?
Let's see if it's the same one as the last time. Hold on a second.
All right, I'll try to project. I'm Donald Mayer.
Try it again.
I am Donald Mayer. My wife Elaine.
Go back to yourself.
And we welcome all of you here today. Let's give a round of applause to Terry Trieger. We met Terry in San Diego at the Jewish-Polish poster exhibit. She liked it so much that she wanted it for her synagogue. And thanks to Susie and Amy and Caesar and whoever else was involved with this. Thank you. We asked the Polish Consul General to come here today, but he said he was going to a carnival. We don't know what a carnival is because it happens before Lent, right? The Poles love a party. He's sorry that he couldn't be here. We're going to start off by playing a game. I'm going to say a word, and then I want you to tell me what comes to your mind. Okay? Anything that comes to your mind that relates to the word that I say. Ready? Poland.
My mother's birthplace.
Okay? Any other?
Holocaust.
Auschwitz.
Okay?
Lawrence Welk.
All right. What do they drink? What do they eat?
Sausage.
All right, you're all right, except you didn't say the key word. What is the key word?
Jokes.
Posters.
Right. My wife has heard me once before. The exhibit is of contemporary, after World War II, posters. The government requested the artists to create posters. Why? If you, are there any Polish-born Americans here today? Anyway, we all know that Poland was destroyed during the war. Some cities were leveled during the war. To rebuild the cities, they put fences around the holes in the ground, and they had the government had the idea that they would put, I keep referring here, posters up around these fences. The artists were, well, let me say this. There was no fine art behind the Iron Curtain. Who are they going to deal with? The Ukrainians? The Soviets? So that the finest from the art schools were selected by the government to do posters. But there was a hitch. Not just posters, but what artists wanted to create. You know yourself, if you tell me what to do to create a poster, I'm going to do what you tell me, especially if you pay me. But if you tell me to create what I want to create as a poster, that's what I will show you. That's what I will produce for you. The most important thing in this exhibit, well, let me say this. Artists did posters for films, theater, jazz. They did it for opera, for exhibits, and they did it for Jewish subjects. Remember, this is after the war, mainly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, under communism. Communism fell in 1989, right? Why? And this is the one thing I want you to remember from what I say and from what you hear here today. You can repeat it to yourselves, you can repeat it out loud. Jewish culture is part of Polish culture and has been for more than 1,000 years. so that the posters that you see will be film posters of Jewish subject films, theater posters of Jewish subject theater, etc. I don't think there's jazz, Polish, jazz, Jewish posters. None of the artists were Jewish, as far as we know. We believe, of course, that because many Poles assimilated, right, lost their identity because of what was happening, that there are, like in the regular walk of life, there are Jewish heritage Polish artists. So if that comforts you in some way, please accept that. But as far as we know, there are no Jewish artists. Elaine, I don't want to go further. Elaine will explain to you, and I think in a walk around, some of the posters that you see here. Again, there are many other posters. You can see our website. There are business cards. There are books to show you what some of the other posters look like. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Why the Jewish posters we have here? Why? What did I tell you before? Jewish culture was part of Polish culture and has been for more than 1,000 years. So thank you very much. Elaine, will you take over?
Hi, I'm Elaine Mayer. I also got here via the posters and meeting Terry in San Diego. What I'm going to ask you to do now that everybody has been seated for a while is we will start to talk about the Jewish posters down at the other end, where there are posters from the Jewish theater and some film posters. As you walk, you will see that on the left-hand wall there are opera posters, film posters. Those are posters of exhibits. The poster behind me is of a festival, other movie posters. So when we get back here, it will be almost circular in that we will start with a movie poster and wind up with the movie posters. And just remember that all the posters that you see around you were done in a period of time that you don't expect to see posters with the Jewish theme. And keep that in mind and have a fresh look at something that when we first saw them, we were surprised that these even existed, as I'm sure most of you are. So I invite you all to come to the end gallery where there are posters from the Kaminsky Theater and 1 or 2 film posters. Okay. The first poster that we will talk about is a film poster called Ulica Granica, which in English is translated as Border Street. Border Street was one of the first movies done after World War II with a Jewish theme. There was a Polish film after World War II. Polish film industry started pretty much right after the war. There was an attempt to revive the Yiddish films themselves, but that failed. But nonetheless, Alexander Ford, any film buffs here familiar with Alexander Ford? Terry. He was a director, he was a Jewish director who was put in charge of the Polish film industry after the war. And he did a film called Border Street. It's 1948. Anybody here besides Terry see the film Border Street? Great. Great, because this is all you know about what I'm telling you so far. The only thing you know, it was done by a Jewish director after the war, and it's called Border Street. Would anybody like to tell me what they see in this poster. I've seen the film and I know what it represents, but a way of showing what great art it is and how the artists were able to encapsulate the film in this one moment is, I'm sure you will all see and be able to pick up the feeling and the basis of this movie. It's 1948. The other thing I can tell you about the film, Stalin was in charge of Russia, USSR at this time. He permitted the film to be made because all culture is totally controlled. However, after it was made, and after this poster was originally done, the film gets banned in Poland, even though it won an award in Venice. And for almost 10 years, it is not shown in Poland. Stalin dies in 1953, and I hope you all are looking at the poster as I'm talking, and the film is reshown in 1958. This poster, as great a condition as it is, dates from 1958. There was a 1948 poster, I understand. I have never seen it. Whether any still exist, I don't know. So would anybody please tell me what they would see in this poster that talks about Border Street? Anybody?
District.
Scene of destruction with some kind of an agreement happening, it looks like.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Like lovers divided by a border or something like that, like a wall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all right, you know,
Okay.
remember, what the artist tries to do is to convey a feeling to you. So it is what you see in it. About the artist himself, I can tell you something about the artist. His name is Eric Lipinski. He is honored in Yad Vashem as one of the righteous among the Gentiles. He was very much, he was underground during the war and helped save Jews. Anybody else see anything? The black, I can tell you what I see. The black, to me, is the wall, but it is also in the form of a figure. Meaning a huge kind of figure that is encompassing everything. The film is the story. Anybody else, before I tell you what the story is about? The film is the story about multicultural families living in an apartment house and how the Jews are sent to the Warsaw Ghetto. And the reason Stalin banned the film is because the Jews are the heroes of the film as opposed to the Poles. It's a very moving poster. Over here, to my right, is maybe I should stand here, is a poster done for the Yiddish Theater, which all those posters on the long wall are. The title of it is in English also, We Polish Jews. A famous Polish poet. His name is Julius Tuwim. He was an assimilated Jew and really didn't recognize his own Judaism until the Holocaust, at which point he was able to get to England and he wrote a manifesto called We Polish Jews, which is very important from many aspects, but one is he considered himself a Jew. He was writing about the plight, this is 1944, about the plight of the Jews in Poland. In the 1980s, it was made into a theatrical piece, and it was shown at the Kaminsky Theater. And again, full of symbolism, the use of seven and their use of stones, the symbol, the traditional Jewish symbol for putting stones on gravesites, the bird calling out to people. Anybody else want to tell me what they see in it? And in the far case there,
They're little scraps of, as though communication was blocked. There's little scraps with writing on them.
yeah, and maybe it's, possibly, supplication, like little scraps in the wall.
It looks to me like the bird is dying or falling rather than calling out.
Maybe. No, I didn't do it, right. Well, no, maybe the artist who did it is one of the younger artists of the Polish School of Posters. He is still alive. His name is Majewski. He also did the cover of the book. This book itself is in the case as you walk into the exhibit.
I just want to add one thing. Elaine alluded to it, and it's very important. This is under Soviet domination, right? Poland is run by the Soviet Union. Everything was censored. Everything was controlled, right?
Who went to the Jewish theater then?
Poles. They perform in Yiddish. Gentiles. My point is that everything has what we call a hidden meaning, whether it's Jewish posters or the circus posters, CYRK. If we were in Poland today, we would better understand the meanings of many of these posters because of these hidden meanings, because everything was censored.
And also the Poles are the artists were communicating to the public through the posters. So whether it's hidden or just a means of communication, the Poles are very deep, very intellectual, and the artists were too, so they have put a lot of meaning into the posters. As far as now all these posters, besides We Polish Jews, all the posters on this long wall were done for the Kaminsky Theater. The Kaminsky Theater, like the film industry, Yiddish theater was started right after the war. It started in different places, and as Donald pointed out, supported by the communist government after the war. In 1955, it's joined, it is made into a national Yiddish theater, and it moves to Warsaw. It is named after Esther Kaminska, who was the mother of Ida Kaminska, who was the founder of the Yiddish theater in Warsaw. And the productions were mostly in Yiddish, simultaneously translated. The theater is still there. It is still supported by the state. One of the interesting aspects is that although the Polish School of Posters ended pretty much after the fall of communism, there was no longer a communist support for the artists. The Yiddish theater still pays artists to do posters in the method, the manner of the Polish School of Posters, as opposed to the American commercial method. For the most part, after communism fell, the artists no longer had an employer, meaning the communist government, and had to either go find a job, or many of them taught in schools. We can start on the left. A theater piece that many of you are familiar with, the Dybbuk. The Dybbuk, and you can see two very different interpretations of the Dybbuk. There is, on the far right, the artist's name is Pangowski, who did it. Andrzej Pangowski, one of the younger artists. If you move over one, that artist, his name is Marian Stahersky. Both those two artists did very many posters for the Kaminsky Theater. One is done in a folklore kind of way, in which the emphasis is on the love story. The other is very much more in the style of The Exorcist, which shows that a poster can represent different aspects of a production, of a story, and still be very much encapsulating the essence of the story. The Stahersky, there is a rumor that Stahersky was Jewish. I don't know if that's true. Donald said none of the artists were Jewish. We don't know. It was politically incorrect to be Jewish under communism. Pangowski currently is not Jewish. Pangowski is the same artist who did The Magic World of Chagall, We did Tevye the Milkman. And those are the posters that he did. The poster right over here is Herschel of Astropol. It's based on a folklore story about a prankster named Herschel who lived in the Ukraine. Well, I guess we can talk more. This is Tevye the Milkman on what, which is the Sholem Aleichem story that Fiddler on the Roof is based on. And this poster right here is the Gold Diggers, which is featured in the poster done for the San Diego exhibit, redone for the exhibit here. And that is done in the style of old Polish posters. Let's see. The Magic World of Chagall obviously is done in the style of Chagall. Anybody have any questions about anything pertaining to these posters?
I'm just imagining the walls around the city so decorated.
Yes, very
It must be
much.
very exciting. Must have been.
It must have been, and there is a film that shows, there are several films that show how it looked at that time. In Poland today, unfortunately, the posters that you see look very much like our Pepsi or Coke or whatever. You don't really see these. The Yiddish Theater still does posters, and they do have a big poster outside their theater. Anybody else?
I'm just surprised at the Hebrew. If the Jews aren't in Poland, well, it's Yiddish, but the Polish, you say, don't really understand Yiddish. Do they understand the Yiddish writing?
Some may not. There were very few Jews. The Poles, one of the, remember what Donald said to you about the intertwining of the cultures?
Right.
When you speak to the actors and actresses, especially earlier on, now there probably are some Jewish actors and actresses. When we first went to Poland, there weren't. And you speak to them, they are very proud of the fact that they were able to master Yiddish and could speak Yiddish and to perform in Yiddish. So there is a certain pride because the intertwining of the cultures is such that the people apparently always felt that there was a need to keep the traditions alive. And it is Yiddish as opposed to Hebrew. Yeah. And there was a magazine kind of publication all throughout this time, paid for by the communist government, that was printed partially in Yiddish. Yeah.
I know there's some interconnection between Yiddish, Polish, and German languages. Could the Polish people who were non-Jews understand the Yiddish because of its closeness to
I don't know, but probably not. I mean, the Polish, I mean, I can't, although I understand Yiddish, I can't pick up any Polish.
Oh, okay.
So, but I do much better in Germany. Right.
More Slavic.
I thought they were much closer.
Any other, okay.
Polish is more
What I don't
Slavic.
understand is, if Poland is supposed to be anti-Semitic, and there were no Jews left,
Yiddish is based upon
then why was all of this done? I don't,
Well, we can talk about it more later,
I don't understand it.
but you have to remember that your initial thought about Polish, there is some question as to why many Americans feel that the Poles are anti-Semitic, and we'll talk about that more later. Because right now, we would like to talk about the art and the culture. Okay, as we walk over, there are more, actually three other theater posters. I said, remember before, I said, remember you're going to see something that you didn't think existed. And it's hard to get your arm around it and just let it talk to you. That's what I'm trying to say. Just let the posters themselves in their art talk to you and show you what it is that they're all about. Besides the Yiddish theater, there were other theaters throughout Poland that did Yiddish Jewish-based plays. This poster here, I think, is a very, very powerful poster. It's the Diary of Mary Berg. In the case, there is a recent republication of that diary. Mary Berg was a young lady who was in the Warsaw Ghetto. She survived the war. But while she was there, she wrote a diary of her experiences in the Warsaw Ghetto. Her family was able to escape because her mother was an American. So it's a very different kind of experience than the Diary of Anne Frank. But it was the first diary that came out of the war. She escaped in 44, I believe. Or maybe 45. She was here, and she, along with Jan Karski, tried to warn. Hi guys, I need some help.
Let's go.
I need help projecting. I lost my helpers. All right. She even marched the anniversary of of the uprising in the Warsaw Ghetto, and tried to warn the American people about what was going on in Europe at the time. The poster itself is an amazing poster in which the artist seems to me to be able to capture the idea of the wall, the Warsaw Ghetto, the light coming through, the hope of the future, the darkness of the present, meaning the present under the Warsaw Ghetto. It was made into a play. It was performed in Poland in the 1980s, and this poster dates from the 1980s. Down there, another black and white poster is Twilight by Isaac Babel. It is about the gangsters in Odessa. A very dark kind of poster, but very... Right. A prettier poster in the center there is the Song of Songs. There are many posters about the Song of Songs. Sholem Aleichem even wrote a short story, novella, about the Song of Songs, and very often in the posters there will be reference to, not very often translated here, poster of the Song of Songs for a production. That one is very beautiful, lighter, prettier, because of the subject matter. The posters tend to follow the subject matter. Anybody want to comment, questions, feelings? Okay, now we will come over to 3 opera posters. The reason these posters are here is to show that the repertory in Poland contains many operas with Jewish themes. They have there are operas and posters, because the posters follow the operas, of operas we never see here. One is Moses. Joel, wherever Joel is, he's back there, is the first American I've ever spoken to who has ever even heard Moses. It's by Rossini. Anybody else here ever hear? I don't know it at all. It's amazing poster, because as you look at it, it's one of those posters that first you see, I don't know what you see first. I will ask the people in the front, what do you see first? What do you see?
Lightning.
Okay, what else do you see? What else do you see?
A mountain.
Yeah, mountain.
All of that.
Yeah, you see all of that. And as you, right, because when I first looked at it, I only saw the mountains. And then as you study it, you see more of what is coming out at you, which makes it an amazingly interesting poster. The poster of life.
Yes, I see it. Yes, his face.
Yeah, great. Yeah. The artist who did this, Waldemar Świeży, is still alive. He's in his 70s now. He's probably the most prolific of all the Polish poster artists. He has done some posters for an art gallery in Las Vegas. Not posters. He has redone some of his posters as lithographs, and they now sell for thousands of dollars in Las Vegas. And he is still very active in the field of art. This is a poster for Nabucco. Nabucco is something that is part of our repertory, but there it is very popular. It's all, opera is more popular there than probably in the States, and Nabucco, every opera company does it. And every time they do Nabucco, there's another poster, or there was, not recently. The recent posters are like ours, just the words and not very much. And over there is a very beautiful poster by a younger artist by the name of Valkuski. And I was totally unfamiliar with the opera by Halaby for La Juive. When the Met finally revived it, I was very excited by that because I had seen the poster, and she's very much a seductress, and I knew about the opera from the poster. And then when I got to see it, the lead was not quite as beautiful as the poster. Valkuski is, also, as we keep walking, he also did the poster, another poster, a fiddler down there. There are certain artists who did many Jewish posters. Under communism, the artist could decide or volunteer or give their sketches for the posters. So I don't think it's totally coincidental that there were some artists who did many of the Jewish posters. In back over there is a fiddler another interpretation of Fiddler on the Roof. Fiddler on the Roof is probably or possibly as popular in Poland as it is here. There are interpretations reaching, very beautiful, very intellectual. This one, I would say, is probably a more intellectual kind of fiddler. Why? And nothing is accidental. Sometimes I don't know why exactly the fiddle is within boards, why there is a point because I've looked at it and I don't really understand it, why there is a point seeming to point to his nose. I've questioned if the box is sort of a broken swastika. I don't know.
But it says Stasis. That was their...
That's the name of the artist.
Oh, I was thinking of Hungary, which...
Okay, that's the name of the artist.
It also looks like it could be a roof.
It's supposed to be a roof.
Okay. Could be just a roof, and I'm trying to read into it. But his head is very large, his fingers are very small. It could be whatever it could.
And I think it's contained. He has no freedom with the bow.
That's right.
Except to go through that tiny hole. So it's restraint or repression, maybe.
Life is as shaky as a fiddler on the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His expression is frozen.
Yeah. And if and there's another Fiddler on the Roof, right? I don't know why we happen not to have gotten Happy Fiddler on the Roof, but here's another one where the fiddle is burning and the man is looking wistfully at the past, as opposed to, there are very happy and charming and delightful fiddlers. On top of this fiddler, there's a poster called Stars. Stars is a film poster. Stars was a German-Bulgarian film that has is relatively known, but not here. It is a story, well, you see the star, which can, the Star of David, and also meaning the Star of Hope. You can think about it as you wish. And it is, as you can tell from the poster, it's a love story. But it is not only a love story, it's a love story of a Jewish girl and I think it's a German soldier. And in many of the posters of movies, there is a question of the complicity of silence. And this is very much in this movie. And since it is Oscar night and Walter Bashir will probably win again, the same theme comes up today, the complicitness of silence. I skipped these two, not purposely. These are also film posters. Korczak is the story of Janusz Korczak, who was known in Poland. There are several statues to him in Warszawa. He was the man who had an orphanage, who went to his death with his orphans rather than saving himself. And Andrzej Wajda, who did the film, is a famous Polish film director, recently received an Oscar for lifetime achievement. And Korczak is an example of one of his films. Over here
May I
is...
say something?
Sure, Tara.
The first Holocaust memorial that was made in New York is a frieze on the Park Avenue Synagogue, and it's on the Madison Avenue side, and you see Korczak surrounded by his children moving toward, I guess, finality. But that was the first Holocaust memorial in all of New York.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there.
See, I didn't know that. The black and beige poster is Requiem for 500,000. It was an early poster done in the 60s. It's a documentary. And again, an example of Polish culture and Jewish culture being together. It starts out with the word Requiem, but it's for the Jews who died in the Holocaust. And again, a powerful, moving poster using the menorah and the hands to move, praying to heaven. Anybody have any comments or questions about any of these posters? All right. Finally, we're getting to, okay. These three posters are later posters done in the 80s. In the 80s, communism is on the wane. There is the beginning of a definite feeling of a return to Jewish culture. The two posters here were, now this is still under communism nonetheless. There were two exhibits in Krakow with Jewish subject matter, art exhibits. One is the Jewish community and one is Jewish culture. The artist who did 1, 2, 3 posters is an artist from Krakow named Gorowski, a younger artist. A lot of use of Hebrew. I don't know if he can write Hebrew or somebody had to help him with it. The poster with the 6 points is open to a great deal of interpretation. Doesn't mean that the points are closing on the eye. Is it 5/6 open? I don't know what the artist meant by it. The poster here about a book is a much more recent poster. Edmond Jabes is a French philosopher. I do not know his work. It's called The Book of Questions. It's a delightful poster, but I think unless you know his philosophy, it's just a great image, but I don't know what it is saying.
Could the closing of the 1 point be a change of from a 6-pointed Magen David to a more universal 5-pointed star?
You know, remember, the artist is speaking to you and how you wish to think of it. To me, it's 5/6 open, and it just needs a little bit more work to get the world living together as one. But that's, my feeling about it. It's every year at the end of June, the beginning of July. The artist who did this one is his name is Raphael Olbinski. He has been living in New York. He has had many exhibits in New York. Again, a poster with a great deal of meaning as you study it. You see the blue brick wall. The brick wall symbolism tends to be of the ghetto wall. But this time it's blue, it's not brown, it's not red. So things are looking brighter. The rainbow on the Star of David, things are really looking bright. We're going to a new era. They're painting the rainbow, or a man is painting the rainbow. The more you study these posters, the more meaning they have. Again, 2 film posters on 3 film posters that have, each one has a different significance in the story of the Polish School of Posters. Astane Top brings us back to the era of the 1950s. This was one of the first posters done after the war. It was done on location in Auschwitz. The director and writer was a woman who recently died, who was herself a prisoner in Auschwitz. It is a very gripping film, as it is a very gripping poster. Notice the use of the carnation. The carnation, all flowers have symbolism. Nothing is accidental in the poster. She could have used a rose. She could have used any other flower, but the carnation could mean love. It could, well, the carnation does symbolize love, but love is broken, but it's not totally broken. The stripes obviously mean, these stripes of the concentration camp. The flower has a shadow. Not sure of the significance of that. This particular poster comes from 1952. It's an amazing shape if you think about it. The original poster was 48. This is 52 when the film was released. Every time a film was released and the poster was re-released, the artist would get paid again. And not only were there posters in Poland, there were films brought in from outside of Poland. This is the shop on Main Street, which many of us have seen at one point or another, which was a Czechoslovakian film. And finally, the film of Osteria, this is a later film, 1983. The director who did it, it is based on a story by a Jewish novelist. And it is the story of the Hasidim, and it is to me, it is almost, I don't know how to say it, he loves the Hasidim, they are the heroes of the film. And before, Kabelarich is the name of the director, and he said he originally had the idea for the film in the 1960s. How much Jewish culture and Jewish posters existed had to do with the political climate at the time. He didn't feel that the communist government would pay for his film from his original concept in the 1960s until 1983 when the film was produced. And again, a very moving poster of Jewish life. Any questions about?
Yeah, has there anything been written anywhere by any of these artists saying what he meant in his poster?
No, but most artists will not.
No.
Because
but
most.
I just thought when there were so many, maybe somebody might have.
No, well, there are no books about. We hope maybe someday to write about the Polish Jewish posters, but there are no books about Polish Jewish posters. And what artists believe, artists speak through their posters, their art. Anybody else?
What do you mount them on to preserve them like this?
Oh, good question. They're on linen. When all these posters are on linen, right? When many of the posters, remember the art is great, the artists are great, the paint is great, everything's great, the paper is terrible. It's under communism. Very good question. The paper is awful. Some of them, when you pick them up, when you first find them, they'll almost collapse in your hand. The paper is so bad during some period. So all our posters, whether they're Jewish posters or not, are sold mounted on linen, as are Toulouse-Lautrec posters and all fine vintage posters. And that keeps them in their current condition? Very good question. Thank you, everybody.